Most of us have a running internal commentary that sounds nothing like a friend. It notices every mistake, replays every awkward moment, compares us unfavorably to everyone else, and tends to show up loudest in the middle of the night or the moment before something important. We call it the inner critic, but that name might make it sound more rational than it is. It isn't offering careful analysis. It's running an automatic program, one that was written a long time ago, in circumstances very different from your life now. Understanding what it actually is and isn't is the first step toward a different relationship with it. The inner critic almost always has origins outside of us. It begins as an external voice, a parent, a teacher, a sibling, a culture that gets internalized over time until it feels like our own thoughts. In childhood, we absorb the evaluative tone of those around us. If that tone was critical, conditional, or harsh, our inner voice learns to match it. Evolutionary psychology adds another layer. The critic also serves a threat detection function. If we criticize ourselves first, others can't hurt us as much. If we never feel good enough, we'll always keep striving. The logic made sense once. The problem is, it doesn't update. It keeps running the same program, regardless of whether you're still in the environment that required it. Chronic self-criticism isn't just unpleasant, it's physiologically costly. Neuroscience research shows that harsh self-evaluation activates the same threat response pathways as external danger. The amygdala fires, cortisol rises. The prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for rational decision-making, creativity, and perspective, goes offline. This is your nervous system treating your own thoughts as a threat, and the more frequently this happens, the more sensitized the system becomes. People with high self-criticism tend to have chronically elevated baseline stress, higher rates of anxiety and depression, and reduced capacity for the kind of clear thinking that might actually help them improve. The critic promises rigor. What it delivers is dysregulation. It's important to distinguish between the inner critic and a genuine moral compass. A conscience says, "I behaved in a way that doesn't align with my values. I want to understand why and do differently." The inner critic says, "I am the kind of person who always gets things wrong." One is about a behavior, the other is about an identity. One is useful, it motivates repair and growth. The other is corrosive, it concludes something irreversible and then loops. Learning to hear the difference is one of the most valuable things you can do. When the inner voice speaks, ask, "Is this offering information or delivering a verdict?" Information is useful, verdicts rarely are. Subscribe to this channel for more on this. We go deep into this work every week. The instinct, when you notice the inner critic, is to argue with it, to counter every criticism with a positive affirmation, to tell it it's wrong. But trying to silence or overpower the critic often backfires. It gives the voice more authority, not less. Suppression increases intrusive thoughts. Arguing treats the critic as if it has valid evidence to dispute. A more effective approach, supported by acceptance-based psychology, is diffusion, creating distance from the thought rather than engaging with it. The goal is not to silence the voice, it's to change your relationship to it, to see it as a voice, not as the truth. Research by Kristin Neff and colleagues consistently shows that self-compassion is one of the most effective counterweights to the inner critic. Not because it argues the critic down, but because it activates an entirely different system, the brain's soothing and affiliation circuitry, associated with warmth, safety, and connection. When you meet self-critical thoughts with genuine kindness, rather than agreement or argument, the nervous system shifts. Cortisol drops. The prefrontal cortex comes back online. You become capable of the clear-eyed self-assessment that the critic promised but couldn't deliver. Self-compassion doesn't lower your standards. It creates the psychological safety needed to actually meet them. There are several evidence-based approaches for changing your relationship with the inner critic. Naming. Give the voice a slightly ridiculous name so you can notice when it shows up without being consumed by it. Labeling. When the critic speaks, say internally, I notice the critic is saying, this creates distance. Compassionate letter writing. Write a letter to yourself from the perspective of a kind friend who knows your full story. Consistent practices. Brief daily check-ins where you ask, how am I actually doing? And respond with the warmth you'd offer a friend. None of these change the critic overnight, but they gradually shift the default. Over time, the compassionate voice becomes more available. The inner critic is loud and persuasive, and it has had a lot of practice. But it is not the whole of you. There is a part of you that heard this video and recognized something, a part that has been quietly exhausted by the criticism and is ready for a different way. That part, the part that can observe, can feel, can choose, is the part self-compassion speaks to. You are not your inner critic. You are the one who can notice it. And in that noticing, there is already space. Space for a gentler, more honest, more useful relationship with yourself. That is the beginning. You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to start there.